Happy March! It has been a month since I have posted a video, and there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, I picked up a second job, and I've been working like 60 plus hours a week, so I have had zero time to focus on anything with my crochet business. That being said, I finally am down to about 45 hours a week now between both jobs, which is lovely, and it means that I have time to get back to this. So, welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Claire. I run a small crochet business called the Hip Stitch Studio out of mid-Michigan. For those of you who do know me, welcome back. Thanks for putting up with my little brief hiatus. So, today is March 12th. So it's been a month since my first market of the year, and I never posted a review of that market or told you anything about it. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Drink your water and buckle up. So, my first market of the year is a little bit of a departure from what I did last year. So last year, I don't think I did any shows that were more than about an hour away from home. And starting out, first show of this year, I drove almost 2 hours away. So for me, that's pretty close to Detroit. So this show was in Westland, Michigan. And I signed up for it back in like early January, maybe late December even of last year. The show was booked for February 9th. It's a Sunday. I wasn't quite sure what to think. As we got closer, I realized it was Super Bowl Sunday. And it was before the Super Bowl game started, but it's Super Bowl Sunday. So as soon as I realized that, I very much adjusted my expectations for this show and understood that if people showed up to this show at all, that would be impressive. Going into this show, it's with a new coordinator. It's somebody I haven't met before. She seems super nice. I am excited to work with her again in May. My next show is also with her down near Detroit. I get there. There are probably 50 vendors, 50 or so. The show was decently well advertised. She did a very good job communicating with all of us about what to do when we got there. It was an indoor show, so we just had to set up tables. She said, bring your own tables and chairs. We were limited to one table. We were told 1 6 or 8 foot table, possibly like a little shelf beyond that, but nothing else. Just because we were so constrained for space, because there were a lot of vendors for this indoor show, for the amount of space that we had. I get there. I totally could have set up 2 tables. Like I could have made that work, but that's okay. I figured it out, got it down to 1 table. We set up. It was decently well attended. For being on Super Bowl Sunday, it actually is a lot better than I thought it would be. Let's get into some of the details for this show. So, the booth fee for the show was only $20. $20 plus a donation, because it was a pop-up for breast cancer. And so we all donated an item. Any money that came from the raffle went directly towards breast cancer research, which, for anyone who knows me in real life, my family is absolutely riddled with cancer, and I think that it's always a great cause. So I donated for that plus my $20 booth fee, and we called it good. So for me, $20 booth fee plus probably $30 to $35 round trip and gas, I basically needed to make $50 just to make it worth my time. I didn't have to take off any work because it was on a Sunday and I don't work Sundays. So I was not out any money that way that I felt like I would have needed to make up to make that show worth it. So for any of you who have watched my previous market recaps, you know that I like to try and also write down like what item sold, how much it sold for, what type of payment it was, and then also what time it was. And part of that is so that I can start tracking the trends for when the busy times for shows are. Because every show has a different start time, a different end time. And so while most shows seem to kind of pick up towards the middle, some of them are really busy in the beginning and some of them are not busy at all for the entire thing. Despite the fact that I like to do that, I did not do that for this show. So I'm going to give you some ballparks here. So I did the item, I did the price, and I did the payment style. I didn't really track any timing, but I will say that I made no sales for the first 2 hours of this show. So this show went from 11 to 4, I think. I think my first sale was right around 1 o'clock, and I sold a mini whale. So if I've got photos, I'll put them here. I don't always have photos for my things, but I'll show them to you when I can. This is a free YouTube tutorial. I believe it's all from Jade. I could be wrong on that. My second sale for this show was a chunky cat, and that was $20. And I would like to clarify that most of this show was in cash. So I think the first like 6 or 7 buys, they were all cash, which is really abnormal for me because I feel like most people buy with card. Next, I sold a leggy frog for $10, also cash. Next, I sold an octo for $10, also cash. My next sale was 2 of my mini stingrays, which is the Chez Du Coton pattern, and I know I have photos of those, for $12 cash. My next sale was a mushroom boy, and that was $10 cash. And then I sold a chicken for $12 cash. That was pretty much it for this show. So about the final half hour, the raffle was going on and the vendors started shopping around. And I will say I actually did a lot of trading with vendors at this show, which I don't normally do. So I traded one of my axolotls for a box of cookies, which worked out great because it was like 2 dozen cookies. And I donated one of my chickens for the raffle. My final sale of the day was 2 of my axolotls, and that was $26 on a card. And then I met with a local artist who was selling prints, and she asked about doing some trading. So I got 3 of her prints for $15 a piece, and she got my Cheeky Turtle, which is the Trunk the Turtle pattern, 2 of my Mushroom Boys, and a Blueberry Bee. So it was about $43 in items of mine for $45 in items for hers. So that was a decent trade. I will say that like vendors at the show were super duper friendly, which has not always been the case. I feel like I've had a couple of shows where vendors have actually been like the worst part of the show. And I bought some cookies from one vendor. I traded the cookies with the other vendor. I had a jewelry vendor right next to me. She was so beautiful. I loved her. She was fantastic. I do hope I run into her at more shows. She was very kind, and I forgot a chair for this show. I didn't realize it till I was like 30 minutes down the road. She had an extra chair, so she's like, "Hey, here, have a chair." It was great. I really liked all of the vendors, and I did really like the show's organizer. That being said, overall for this show, just based on the amount of sales I did, how far I had to travel, and all of those factors, would I do this show again? No. But I think there were some other factors to this show that hurt the show in a way that wouldn't be normal. And I'm really hoping that my May show proves that this vendor actually like does a good job. So number 1, it was Super Bowl Sunday. The coordinator actually apologized to us because she did not realize that that was Super Bowl Sunday when she booked that show and when she started booking vendors. She said, "I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. It definitely impacted our traffic." We were also inside of a strip mall in an established building, and we were told that we were not allowed to put out like street signage or banners or anything like that outside the building. So all of the advertising that we did had to be online. So it's great when you've got vendors that are local who have a big following who are going to be there because they'll pull in some traffic. But for people like me who drives an hour and 45 minutes to the show, anyone who follows my page is not local to that show and they're not going to come to that show. And we had quite a few vendors who traveled really far for this show. And I think that the lack of advertising and the lack of being able to do advertising for this show actually really hurt us. That being said, I think if it had been in a different location and it had been on Saturday instead of Sunday, it would have been a great show. And yeah, like the vendors were great. The show itself was fine. I mean, it was easy to get in and out. Everybody was friendly, and I made my booth fee back. All total, I made 106. So minus my booth fee at $20, I made 86. And then I had, my trades that I'm not counting in that. I made my booth fee back and I made my gas, and I'm not out anything for doing that show. I didn't have to give up any time at work for it, so I didn't lose any money. I don't know that it was worth my whole day being gone and all of the stress of setting up and material costs and all of those things, but I mean, I did end up in the green. So I'm not mad about it. I do look forward to my next show. This was kind of a one-off show. I didn't plan on doing any shows in February originally, and then I booked two back to back. One of them got canceled, and then my March show got canceled. So I just had this show until May 3rd. It is what it is. Am I disappointed I didn't make $1,000? Sure, I'm always disappointed that I don't make $1,000. But that's life. And, for somebody who's just getting started this is now my second year of craft shows, and being in a fairly rural area, like, I'm not entirely mad at how things have gone so far. And I am looking forward to growing more in the future and seeing how the rest of shows go. That being said, um, I have a lot of shows that will be in quick succession this summer. So I've got a show at the end of June. I have a show mid-July. I have two shows back-to-back weekends in August. And I have a show in September, two shows in September, again, I think back-to-back. So I have a lot of market prep to do, as well as trying to get my Etsy shop up and running and being able to sell online before possibly opening my own website. So, yeah, it's like I've still got work to do. I've still got content to make, and we'll see how things go. The next video that is coming out should be coming out shortly, and that is my final Joann's haul. Because, as we know, all Joann stores are closing, and my store was on the chopping block beforehand, so people started rushing the store pretty early. And I went in and I got, I think, what will probably be my last shopping trip at Joann's. I don't think I'll go back. And so that video should be out here for you shortly, showing you everything that I got and showing you what my Joann's store looks like now. That being said, thanks so much for watching. I hope that you enjoy these recaps as much as I do, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.